Hi, thanks for joining us for Tasty Tuesday on Sun Devil Fitness Complex YouTube. I'm Jennifer from Nutrition Educators, and today we're going to be making Lentil Sloppy Joes. Here's what you'll need. To make Lentil Sloppy Joes, you will need 1 cup of dried lentils, 2 cups of water, 2 tablespoons olive oil, a half of a yellow onion, 2 cloves of garlic, a half of a green bell pepper, 1 can of tomato sauce, 15 ounces, 1 to 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 to 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 1 to 2 tablespoons of chili powder, salt and pepper to taste, and 4 to 5 whole wheat hamburger buns. Also, you'll need 2 pots, a cutting board and a knife, a bowl, and a strainer, and teaspoons and cups for measuring. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do with Lentil Sloppy Joes is we're going to start cooking the lentils. So I'm going to open up the bag, put them into 1 pot, and put enough water into the pot to cover the lentils and maybe another inch or 2. A good general rule of thumb is twice as much water as there is lentils. Remember that you are straining this, so it's not really picky on how much water you have. And I'm going to put the burner on high to get that water up into a boil. Once it's to a boil, I'll turn the water down to about medium, and I'm going to let it simmer for about 18 to 20 minutes. Next, I'm going to start making the sauce. I'm going to turn the burner on another pot to medium. First thing I'm going to cut is my onion. I'm going to peel the outer layer of my onion off. And I need half of this onion. So I'm going to make about 3 slices of onion. Alright, I moved this stuff over so you guys can really see what I'm doing. So, once I have my slices of onion, I'm going to make vertical cuts in the onion. Again, about a half to a 1/3 inch thick. And then I'm going to move the onion around, do a quarter turn, and then make cuts perpendicular to the original cuts I made. And about the same size, about a 1/3 to a 1/2 inch thick. Okay? Once I'm done, I'm going to coat my pan with some olive oil. You want to do this just before you put your product in. Olive oil has a lower burning point than a lot of different oils. So if you put your oil in too soon, it might burn before you actually get your product into the pot. And I do just enough to coat the pan. And gently put your onion into the pot. Be careful not to put it in too aggressively because if it splatters on you, it can burn you and it hurts. Okay? Next, I will chop up my garlic. A great way to get the peel off of the garlic is to crush it with your knife. So take your knife, place it flat against the garlic, and with the palm of your hand, push down until it crushes it. You'll hear a little splatting noise. And then the clove pulls out really easily. I'm just going to cut the rind off of the garlic. It's kind of the tip. It has a little bit of brown. I'm going to cut that part off and do a rough chop on this garlic. Remember, this is going to be in a sauce, so it doesn't have to be really small. Other ways that you can use garlic if you don't want to chop it up is it does come jarred. It tastes a little bit different, but it is a lot easier. Or there's a little tool called a garlic press, and it makes this nice and easy. And that's about enough. I'm gonna put that in my pot and give it a little stir. Last, I'm gonna cut up my bell pepper. So the way I open up a bell pepper is I slice through the top, and then with my hand I kind of just grab the center and it pulls out all the seeds. And then I pull away that kind of the little white foamy part on the inside of a bell pepper that holds in all of the seeds. And then give it a little shake for any extra seeds. And then I'm gonna chop it in half. Now when you're cutting bell pepper, it's a lot easier to cut into the inside than the outside. The outside kind of has a tough exterior that's harder to cut into. It looks like my lentils are boiling, so I'm going to turn those down. All right. Now I cut my bell pepper into thin strips, about 1/2 inch wide, and I'm going to cut perpendicular just to get little squares. Remember that bell pepper, when it cooks, kind of shrinks. So you want them to be a little bit bigger so you can taste them. Get my bell pepper in the pot, throw those in. I'll let that cook for a couple minutes just to get the bell pepper tender. And then I'll put in the tomato sauce. Okay, bell pepper has been sauteing for a couple minutes now. I've been stirring it every once in a while. You don't want to stir it constantly. Letting the onion and bell pepper kind of caramelize on the bottom of the pan gives it some really good flavor. So next, I'm going to pour in my tomato sauce. Alright, give it a little stir. And then I'm going to put in my Worcestershire. Make sure when you put in your Worcestershire that you give it a little shake before. Sometimes some of the flavor goes down to the bottom. Okay, calls for 1 to 2 tablespoons. If you like Worcestershire, you can put more in. If you don't like it as much, you can put less. And for the sake of my cleanup, I'm going to turn this down a little bit because the sauce is spitting a little bit. And if you've ever had spitting tomato sauce in your kitchen, it makes a huge mess. Alright. Then we're going to put in some sugar. The reason we put in sugar is it kind of complements a salty sauce nicely. Sweet and salty is kind of something that's always an aspect of Sloppy Joes. And yeah, that sweetness just comes from a little bit of sugar. If you don't want to use sugar, you can also use honey, agave syrup, or even maybe some orange juice. Next, we're going to put in our cumin. And this is 1 to 2 teaspoons. I just measure it out by hand. When it comes to spices, it's kind of whatever you prefer. Now when it comes to baking, leavening agents and rising agents like baking powder and baking soda, those you definitely want to measure out because those are exact. But with spices and herbs, it's kind of up to you. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Next I'm going to put in my chili pepper. I'm using a chipotle chili pepper, which gives it a nice smoky flavor. It's a little bit on the spicy side, so be careful. And because it is a little spicy, I'm going to use about 1 teaspoon. I'm going to turn this on low and just let the flavors get to know each other while the lentils finish cooking. All right, so our lentils have been cooking for about 20 minutes and they are ready to be strained. So I'm going to put a strainer in the sink, strain out the water from my lentils, and then place those lentils into my sauce. So now that my lentils are strained, I'm going to pour them into my sauce and stir them around. And the last thing I'm going to do is put in some salt and pepper. I like to add my salt last because sometimes when you're cooking a sauce, some of the sauce evaporates. And so if you put salt in the beginning, it can end up a little salty at the end. And a little bit of pepper. I'm not going to put too much in because we already put a bunch of chili powder with the chipotle pepper. And I'm just going to leave this on low while I turn on my oven to 350 degrees so I can warm up my buns. Once the oven is ready, you'll put the buns in for just a couple minutes for them to get a little toasty. Okay, my buns are out of the oven and nice and toasty. And I'm just going to cut halfway through all of them at the same time to save time. So if you're serving for friends and you wanted to make this look pretty, you could actually just take the top off, put the lentils in, and put it down, and then people could just pull away as they took a lentil burger. But I'm just going to pull these off separately. Okay. And you just take a little bit of mixture, just like a sloppy joe. Put a little bit on the bun and top it off. And do that for all of these. So this is our final product of Lentil Sloppy Joes. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next Tuesday on Sun Devil Fitness Complex YouTube for Tasty Tuesday. We will be making pumpkin bars.